Welcome to Gentle Anchor, a podcast hosted by mom and son, Michele and Noah. No topic too tender. We talk with honesty, curiosity, and zero taboo.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Gentle Anchor Podcast. I am Michele and
I'm Tabi. I'm Noah's replacement today.
yeah, Tabby's with us. She is filling in for Noah. Noah had a lot of stuff going on at school. He asked if there was something I could do, and I was like, well, let me see if your sister will fill in for you, and Tabi was gracious enough to do that. So we get Tabi today, and we're going to talk about just some things that Tabi's gone through in her life and how we handle that as mom and daughter. How we did handle that and stuff like that. But first, we asked you guys to vote on your favorite name for our listeners. And we had Gap Crew, Anchorlings, and Driftmates were the three choices that we had. And Tabi, do you want to tell them who won?
Yes. Apparently, y'all are now drift mates.
Woohoo! Driftmates!
I liked first mates, but
that wasn't one of the choices. That didn't make the cut. I liked Gap Crew. It was funny to me because Anchorlings and Driftmates were the ones that people voted for most, but obviously Driftmates won. Driftmates it is. And I want to give a quick shout out to one of our listeners. His name is Chris, and he commented on our last episode. He asked if it was too late to put in a fourth option, and I said yes, it is. He thought you guys should be called Anchor Force. I don't remember the exact story of why he said that was fitting, but appreciated his thoughts on it. So shout out to Chris, but sorry, you're a driftmate.
Anchor Force is cool.
Yeah. Thanks for everybody that voted. We appreciate it. Before we get into it, we're going to get into that drift check. So Tabi, how was your week?
It was okay. I got my wisdom teeth out, not Friday, but like last Friday.
Yes.
So just been recovering from that and stuff, and that was my first surgery at like my first surgery ever, like my first
time
anesthesia. So my body's kind of just like so out of whack a little bit all week, but it's okay. We're on the mend. I'm feeling so much better. It's just been annoying, like recovering from surgery. It is not even just like something like that. It's so annoying, and my energy levels were like a lot lower than usual, and like feels weird still. It's still kind of hurting a little.
Yeah.
This week's my birthday week, so it's gonna
be 23. Yes, it is. Your birthday's this week, and we are going to celebrate like we usually do. We do whatever meal you want and cake, or this case you want brownies, but you're also going to do something with your boyfriend, right?
Yes, we're going to go see some like huge light display or something, and I'm excited. It'll be fun.
That'll be fun. Cool. I'm glad to hear that he's taking you somewhere for your birthday.
Yes. I'm like, I was like, that's something I can say I've never done for my birthday. Yeah. So that'll be fun.
Because you always spend it with mommy, but whatever. Anyway, yeah. You have to ask me how I'm doing.
Oh, sorry. How has your week been?
My week has been pretty boring, but good. I was doing some preparation stuff for my class that I'm teaching that you're in. We always talk about that. Noah and I. But I had to do some preparation for that because we are getting into our last weeks, which is really great. We're actually in our last month. Only 1 month left, so that's kind of nice. So just kind of wrapping things up and getting you guys all sorted for that class. And I started studying for my registered dietitian's exam. Got it scheduled. I'm taking it at the end of December. So that's
long time coming.
Yeah. That's been my week. Yay. Nothing exciting.
Nice.
Thanks for asking. So, okay, we are going to get into this episode, and we're going to move through it as quickly as we can. What we're going to talk about is Tabi. I wouldn't say that Tabi's had as many emotional things going on in her life, but the two specific really big things, one really big specific thing, which was like your second year of college, very emotional. It was a hard time for you.
Yeah.
And then we're just going to talk about like relationships and how those have helped you become the person that you are today. One of the things that you and I had talked about before we were preparing for the podcast is that you and I have a very different relationship than Noah and I have.
Yeah.
I think that the dynamic that people are used to seeing on the podcast between me and Noah is going to be different here. I would say that Tabi and I, the relationship that we have is very much more friend-like. Even though Noah and I are very friend-like, I think mother and daughter relationships are very different in that aspect. Wouldn't you say? What do you think, Tabby?
I was just gonna say, like I know Noah calls you his anchor. I think that like fits perfectly for your guys' relationship, and I don't see it like that. Like it's
Yeah.
not like we have a very close relationship still, but
Yeah.
it's not like I wouldn't say it's like, "Oh, you're the one that grounds me."
Right.
So,
Yeah.
no.
I think that our relationship is more we talk about things on a level of just kind of an even level.
A lot of it is you do help me get through the emotional things, but it's not as much as Noah. And a lot of times it's I'm learning things or I'm just like going through something and you're my support system.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, I'm taking the advice that you're giving me. How do I apply this to my life? Or
Yeah.
very, very educational.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I've said with Noah, we did a lot of the background work when the kids were younger. And so now we're able to have the open, honest communication that we have. And it's very conversational, just very
Yes,
naturally conversational.
that's a perfect way to put that, I think.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
So, so let's talk about the. It's so funny because when I think about your second year of college, it really is the most traumatic thing I would say in your life.
Yeah.
And so I'm grateful for that. Like I'm so grateful for that. That is like, I mean, obviously you've lost grandparents and mom went through cancer stuff like that, but that's not like for you as specifically, that is the most trying time of your life.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about why that was.
Yeah.
And then we're also going to talk about your past relationships and how they have helped you be the wonderful girlfriend that you are now for your steady boyfriend that you have now that we
Yes.
adore. So let's talk about your first year of college. You went away to college. I'm going to let you start and just talk about where you want to go with this.
Yes. So I went away about 4.5 hours away. I just went to a little junior college. It was Utah State University Eastern, which is just like a satellite campus for Utah State. And it's in this tiny little town that's 10,000 people. I was a cheerleader there. A really huge part of my life has been cheerleading, competitive cheer from time I was like 12, 13, all the way up until I did a year in college, which was super, super cool opportunity. And so being on a cheer team, my first year, it made
Give
it
you instant friends, right?
instant friends. Yes, exactly. It made it 10 times easier. And then on top of that, I had 2 friends from home that
Are they?
went with me and
Right.
also like were on the cheer team and stuff. So that was so nice to just
Yeah.
like one of them was one of my really good friends. And then the other one was someone I had known basically my entire life. About a month before I went to college, I had to go down there for cheer camp. I had already met my team. I was rooming with different people. I'd met 2 of my roommates already.
Yeah.
And it made it 10 times easier. The transition was a little bit hard, I think. It was still my first time away from home. It was hard to leave everybody behind, leave home, but it was really great. I met a lot of great people down there. I was dating somebody when I got down there, and so, I'm grateful for him that he helped me get through
Yeah.
that year, and I always was with somebody. Like, I just had somebody with me all the time, and I think that took the shock of being away from home
Yeah.
away.
I think, and I had Noah here. Noah was in his last year of high school. He was still at home, but it was kind of weird not having you home. You had been home your entire life, and then it was a weird transition. It was definitely something I wasn't ready for. It's funny. Both of you, I said, you are not staying here at home. You are going away to college. And the fact that you both took that to frickin' heart pissed me the fuck off. I was like, are they both kidding me right now? I was like, they really, they never listen to anything I say. And then of course they have to listen to this one, but whatever. So it was definitely something we both had to work through, right? I wouldn't say it was difficult. We handled it really well. You were so busy.
I was
with
so
cheer.
busy.
And the thing I think I missed the most was seeing you cheer.
Yeah.
That was really hard because I had been there for, what it was, 5, 6, 7 years. of you cheering at home. And then all of a sudden you went to USUE cheering and I didn't get to be there. I wasn't there all the time. But the nice thing was that you as a team, your team went to Daytona.
Yes, which is college
The cream of the crop.
Every college cheerleader's dream is to go to that. So grateful I got to do that.
Yes. I got to be there for you for that. And that was awesome. So what are some of the struggles that you had while you were at USUE?
Yeah, I think, like you said, like it was hard for me too to not be able to just be like, oh, hey, I did this today. Like I was a flyer and it was like my second year flying. I'm sure that was a struggle for you as well, knowing that I was, whatever, hours away and was in the air.
Being thrown through the air. I think, you know what, the funny thing about that is Grampy always said the best, like your grandmother would have been having a cow knowing that you were being thrown in the air.
I had such good people under me, so that made it so much better. But I think that was also, it was weird to not like see you guys in the stands or anything at games stuff, but that was hard. And then just like just being away from home the first time, having to like cook all my meals myself. I had a meal plan, so that was helpful. Yeah. Going to the store and like, okay, I have to go shopping for myself for the
We just talked about that in our last episode, me and Noah.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah.
As a student athlete, it was like, even with like the little bit of information that I'd gotten from you having gone through your bachelor's in dietetics, it was still, I have no idea what to feed my body. I don't know how many calories I'm losing. Like, I know as an athlete, you have to eat way more than you do.
At that time, you just didn't have a clue.
I just didn't know. I was like, what am I supposed to
eat? And I
eat?
remember that being a bulk of conversations that we had was, Mom, how can I get more calories? Mom, am I doing okay? Because not only you're a tiny person, and not only that, but you were at the fittest you have ever been.
Yeah.
And so you weighed the least you'd ever weighed, but because you were pure muscle. And so that was difficult too, because I remember like you would say, I weigh this, and and not like body shaming in any way. It was always positive, but it was always trying to figure out, okay, how can we make sure that you're eating enough to support that muscle, to make sure that you're getting your carbs and all of those things, because you are burning so many calories.
Yeah, and having the energy to do all the things that I needed to do. Like we had practice at 6 a.m. 3 times a week. Practices were brutal.
I do remember that being a lot of our conversations. But the real struggle was your second year.
Going on to year 2, I decided not to cheer anymore and to focus more on my education. The guy I was dating off going to do his own things. Year 2 was a struggle. I decided to transfer to Southern Utah University in Cedar City, Utah, which it added on like an hour and a half or so from home, down south more. So that was going to be the first year that I was really going away like by myself.
What happened was I had to drop Noah off to school. So that was Noah's first year. So he went to school and I had to bring him. So that was super emotional for me. And I don't know that, not that we wouldn't have talked about it, but I just don't think it was something that was rarely prevalent, that you were having issues with going down or feeling kind of nervous about it.
Yeah, you just hide those things. It's like, it'll be fine.
Right.
It's just a new place. You have those normal nervous jitters. Yeah, I got closer and closer and I was like, I really don't want to do this. I was not excited at all.
Right.
To go down there. I was like, there's no way I'm staying here. Like, absolutely.
I know. You and I drove down. We took separate cars because obviously you were staying and I had to get home. I had to help you move in. Talk about the approach to getting into Cedar City.
As you start to get nearer to Cedar City, there's the signs with the miles on it. And I think there's one that's like 22 miles. And then a little bit later, it goes 11 miles. And as I'm seeing these signs, tears might have started in the car, to be honest. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, this is not going to be good. Like, I was just so overwhelmed with the whole thought of it.
Yeah. We moved you into your apartment. We were going to stay in a hotel that night. I was going to drop you off for orientation the next day. So we are moving you in. Kind of said, like, I'm a little nervous about this. Nothing major was going on. I could tell you were very reserved. So I knew that you were not thrilled, but you were just going through the motions of, I got to get all my stuff moved in. My roommate's here. I don't want to bother her too much, all that stuff.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't even know these people that I'm rooming with. Like, we're moving all this stuff in. They're saying hi to me. I remember it was so hot in that freaking apartment. We're moving all my stuff in, and I was so overstimulated.
Finish moving our stuff in. We're going to go to the hotel. So we walk out. Go ahead.
Walking down back to the car, get in the car, I'm sitting there like looking at the building, and then just straight burst into tears.
Started bawling.
Hyperventilating. I was crying.
The hardest you had ever cried.
Hard. And what did I even say?
You said, "You can't leave me here."
Yes, I had just gone from being with a cheer team every single day to like, there is nobody that I know within hours of me.
Yep. And you literally said to me, "You can't leave me here. I'm not staying here." We had to talk about what that looked like. You did not make this decision lightly to go to SUU. It was a decision that you consciously made for the good reasons, for liking the campus, for the program that they had that you were going into because it was exercise science and led you into, you wanted to do PA school. It wasn't a decision that you made lightly. I think that caught me off guard. We had to have a really serious conversation about, why are you doing this? Is this really what you want? I said to you, you can come home. We can go get your stuff right now. We can put it back in the car and we can go home. Yeah.
And I was so close. I seriously considered that offer.
And what did you say? What was the reason why do you remember why you chose not to?
I knew deep down it was going to be fine.
Yeah.
From the beginning of college, I wanted to have that experience away from home. I think that's so important. Like, I would genuinely recommend that to every single person. At least once in your life, you have to go out on your own. You have to go somewhere new. Just get out of your hometown, because the people that you will meet, like, just the experiences you will have are so important, I think.
I think it's true. I've done it so many times in my life. I mean, I moved so many times to different places, and the things that you learn about yourself are they're immeasurable. We did talk about it in that moment. I was like, this is your opportunity to do something that you've always wanted to do. And if you don't do it, how are you going to feel about that? And if you can honestly tell me that you're going to be fine, like you're going to be fine, then okay, we'll go pack your stuff up. But if you're going to doubt for 1 minute that you made the wrong decision to come home, then the answer is you have to stay. And I said to you, Tabi, just make one friend.
Just make one friend. And I am so grateful, because I don't know if it was the next day or like 2 days later, I made a friend, and I genuinely, to this day, I think I've told him too, you are an angel sent from God. It's so funny, because I think you're like, if you make one friend and then it'll lead to this person. And that is genuinely what happened. I went to a football game, I think my first week, with this friend and with this big group by the end of it.
Friends. Yeah.
I credit that entire year to, there was like 3 different friend groups I had made throughout the year at SUU, and I credit me getting through that year to every single one of those people.
Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%. Like, this is what Gentle Anchor podcast, those in that moment were those people were my gentle anchor that year, because
they were. You ended up staying, and I was grateful that you did, and we don't need to get into all the other stuff about that, but I think that you made the right choice for yourself in that moment, and there was no way that I was going to make that decision for you. Of course I wanted you to say, yeah, Mom, I want to go home. Of course I wanted to say that, but that's selfish. I was so grateful for you to be able to reflect and be able to see that you were making the right decision for yourself. And I think that you learned a lot about yourself from going to SUU and the time that you spent there. Do you remember some of the things that you learned from that about yourself? Do you want to talk about those things?
Yeah, I think one of the things is that I still kind of use to this day is, now, like, that I've gone through that, I know that I can go anywhere brand new and it'll be just fine. I'll be just fine. I also, I'm a very social, extrovert, outgoing person now, and that is because of this year.
Right.
I knew that I have to make friends, need that connection with people, and So I would go to like events by myself sometimes, or
You did.
I would start walking up to people and just talking to them.
Yeah.
However, we can probably blame me being a yapper on part of it. This year.
Okay. You were before you went.
This year,
Yes, I think you
made it
learned
work.
a lot and you forced yourself to get out of your comfort zone.
Yes, it was definitely so many things out of my comfort zone that I learned a lot about just like life in general, like how God's plan for me is so much better than my plan for
Yeah.
myself. I need to trust in that and
Yep.
everything will be okay. And that was a big thing. There's a lot of me trying to figure out life
Yeah.
that year. And
Yep.
I made some changes with schooling. I decided before my second semester to switch my major
Major.
from exercise science to dietetics. And
I had nothing to do with that. I
No,
did. It's
it's
true.
actually such a great story. I got to take a sports nutrition class my first semester, and I absolutely fell in love with it. It was
did.
taught by the sports dietitian down there. She was amazing. It was so fun, and I was like, I really like this. But I was on the track for PA school. I was still doing that and stuff, but I was like, it's so funny because I had done no preparation at all to
No.
go to PA school. It was like,
No.
let me just do this. And luckily, by the time I went to
That's great.
SU, I had gotten to this program and I went to this class every week. And they're like, you need to do this and this and this. And I was like, this is really stressful. And I'm pretty sure half of the phone calls
Yes.
that I called home were like, Mom, I'm not good enough for PA school. I'm never going to do it.
So true. Yeah.
And
I do remember a lot of those conversations being that.
yeah.
A lot of the conversations were food, cooking, and, those. But the other half of the conversations were because you were just feeling overwhelmed by the fact that you were on this path to do this major that you felt passionate about.
Yeah.
But going to USUE didn't help you on
No.
that path because you were concentrating so much on cheer. And we didn't do a great job when you were in high school with preparing you for it. You got very overwhelmed. Not only were you away from home, but then you had this added burden of, I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Yeah, no, exactly that. I will say the one thing that good came out of that, no, there's more than one, but
Yeah.
I did a lot of volunteer hours
Yeah.
for
you
that,
did.
which is great. And I'm glad I did that. And I volunteered like 3 times a week, all these different things. And it was great. It was great to have the opportunity to help people and to gain some like leadership skills and
Yeah.
just some really cool things that I got to do and help with. But it was a really stressful time for all those reasons. Yeah,
Yeah.
adding on to the cooking.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, I'm still in that boat of, okay, well, I'm not an athlete anymore, but I still have to eat and I still don't know what I'm doing.
What Noah and I talked about last time was not only not knowing what to cook, it was figuring out when. I remember the most was it was usually like 9, 10 o'clock when you called me to be like, I don't even know what I'm having. And we used to have the conversations of, okay, make sure you take this out the night
Yeah.
before. Like we would be on the phone and we would have to discuss what you're going to have tomorrow to make sure
Yes.
you took it out right when we were having that conversation.
Meal planning is so hard. And I was weird because I didn't like to be in the kitchen at the same time as my roommates,
Yep.
which is why it was like I would eat dinner at like 10 o'clock at night. Not to say my roommates were bad or anything.
No.
All very nice. We just weren't really friends.
Yeah.
It was kind of a small kitchen.
Yeah. And so on top of all the not wanting to cook, not knowing
Yeah.
how to cook, not knowing how to shop, all those things that college students genuinely have problems with.
Yeah.
If you want to know more about that, check back the last episode if you missed it. You had those same issues. We did talk
Yeah.
a lot about those things. What else? Anything else you'd like to say about that year before we move into relationship stuff?
Oh, it would have been nice if I could have just skipped the SUU,
Yeah.
just because it's just the middle and like USUE was so fun. It was such
Yeah.
a good first year and I'm so thankful for it. SUU wasn't that, but it was also such an important time in my life. I learned so much about myself and just like about life and I just really grew as a person
Yeah.
during the year and that is where I changed my major and it definitely has been
Pivotal things in your life.
pivotal things in my life that I sometimes don't even realize like
Yeah.
how
It's true.
important.
Hey, drift mates. I get to say it for the first time. I'm so excited. Yesterday, Tabby and I were recording this episode and we had an internet issue. That happened once before on one of our other episodes. It was a little late at night and we were doing it. And of course, it just went down. It is what it is. We're back the next day and here we are. So we got through all of that we wanted to talk about with Tabby's going to college at SUU. Now we're going to get into the relationship stuff, but more so the things that happened through your relationships, the conversations that came up, and how we were able to build emotional intelligence through those conversations. I think that's more of what we want to get into with that. So does that seem like what we're going for here? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I'm going to let you start with where you want to start, each relationship, and how much you want to talk about those is totally fine. It's not like you have a gazillion. There's 3 others other than your current one. So, and the first one I really wouldn't call a relationship. It was just the first boyfriend. So let's start there, and however you want to move through them is just fine. And we'll talk about them as we go.
Okay. I would say I've definitely learned something from each of these relationships that I've been to, whether they weren't very long or were kind of longer. You gain a little bit more every time, and you gain more of that experience and a little bit more about how to be a girlfriend and what I wanted out of a relationship.
It's important for us to mention that when you were younger, probably like, what was it, like 10, 11, 12, somewhere around there, we made a list for you.
Yeah.
Of the expectations of what you deserve from a boyfriend and what you wanted. Do you want to talk about that list a little bit? I think that's kind of important because we prepared you early for the fact that you were going to eventually be in a relationship.
Yes. And it's so funny because I was just talking to my current boyfriend about this list just this weekend. It's so important for everybody to, both guys and girls, to have a list of qualities that they're looking for. And not that it has to be, if you don't check every single one of these boxes, like, I'm not going to date you. But just like a couple of non-negotiable things that you're looking for. And I'm the kind of person that from the beginning of me dating was an intent to marry kind of dating. I didn't want to just date to date. I want to build a relationship with this person. Just some of those things were being kind, being, honest, having integrity, loyal, being faithful and loving God, being a gentleman is a huge one for me. I think it's such an important thing to do and an important conversation to have. And I'm glad that was one that we had. I think I made Noah do it at one point too, because
yeah, you did.
I was like, no, this is important. It's good to know, and it's something that I still just to this day
refer back to. That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's definitely throughout the years a little bit. Like,
yeah,
I think some things that I've added that as I've learned throughout the relationships, I'm like, okay, I want this. This is important to me.
Yeah. Awesome. I love it. That first relationship was not a very long one, and it was just kind of a puppy love thing. What did you briefly learn from that?
I think it was just being a girlfriend is another role. Like, there's the roles of like friend, daughter, sister, but I think it's another role.
Yeah.
And was something that I learned is, okay, what does it mean to be a girlfriend and how do I do this well?
Yeah. It gave you that kind of mentality.
Yeah. And like a good foundation to start from and learn off of.
Good. And, it was your first breakup. So there was a little bit of conversation between you and I where I was like, it's okay. Feel your feels, but it's not the end of the world. We'll move through this. Take it at your own pace and we'll get through it.
Yeah.
And so then the next one, the next one was a little bit of a longer relationship. And we don't need to get into details or anything like that. But it was that first one that you had that love. You thought it was going to last. You and this guy were polar opposites, but it didn't matter because you were in love. And it was less than a year, but it was a good one. Tell me a little bit about what you learned or got from that relationship.
Yes. So that one, it was like my senior year of high school. So we had to and I was planning, kind of talked about earlier, I was planning on leaving home and going to college. Like, I had been applying to all these colleges and stuff and a lot of them were farther than I had ended up going and stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, I am not staying here. And he knew that he didn't really have the same goals, didn't really want to go to college or didn't really know what he wanted, which is totally fine. That's not a big deal. But for me, it was like, hey, I want this to work, but I I'm not giving up college for
No.
this. I'm not giving up what I want to do. To be able to do that as a 18-year-old is pretty good. And I definitely think that
Yeah.
we had
Emotionally
prepared.
mature.
Yeah, like had prepared for that. I wanted to go into the medical field.
Yeah. And you were determined. You're
I was,
just very goal oriented, and you knew what you wanted, and nothing has stood in that way.
yeah. But I feel
So
like with this relationship, like she said, it was my first love. We had both very different ideas of what we wanted in life. But at that time, I was like, oh, whatever you want, as
yeah.
long as I'll do my thing, that's fine. I was willing to definitely give up, I think, a lot more than I would now.
Yeah.
Eventually, like, we broke up because of that. Like, he didn't want to do the long distance. And I'm very
Yes.
grateful for that, honestly. I'm extremely grateful to not have gone to college with a boyfriend at home.
So that breakup was even harder than the
Yeah.
first one of you
Yeah.
words.
And it was just out of the blue.
Emotionally
Like one day it was fine, and the next it was, I'm stressed about this, and this isn't gonna work. I'm a very big believer in if you want something to work, it will
make it
work.
work. Yeah.
If you are both wanting to put the effort, so I wasn't worried about it, but he was. We broke up, and it was really hard. That was a very hard breakup for me. It was just a lot to deal with, and
So
I
let's talk about you as an emotional person. You are the type of person that holds all that in, holds those
yes,
emotions, and then they just explode.
yes,
I don't think that's true anymore, actually. To
I'm
that
getting
level,
a lot better, but yeah,
yes. In that breakup, it was very much, you cried about it, but you held it in so much until it finally boiled over. And then it was very emotional and very, I don't even know the right word for it, but it was a lot. Talk about
that
those emotions and how you handle emotions.
I think, yeah, like it was just one, like it took me by surprise. It was really upsetting to me. That was really the first time that I'm like, well, this isn't fair. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, breakups a lot of the times breakups aren't mutual, and this was not a mutual thing.
Yeah.
And I was, why did you get to make that decision when it affects me? So I was definitely like mad about that. And
Yes.
there was just a lot of emotions to deal with, and I didn't like that.
Yeah. And I think that's something that we commonly talk about is you regulating your emotions and trying to get those emotions out. When you're upset about something in the moment, let's talk about it in the moment rather than saying, okay, I'm upset about this. I'm going to keep it here. I'm going to keep it here. I'm going to keep it here until it eventually gets to boiling over. That was something that we talked about a lot during that breakup. Is there anything else you want to say about that one?
That one, I learned how to let go of somebody because I
Okay.
held on to him for a while, and I didn't realize that I needed to let go. I needed to like forgive him to be able to let go. And I needed to do that to just like, it wasn't like I was still super upset about it anymore, but it was
No.
still there.
On your brain.
Yeah. And in my heart, being able to learn to let go and fully move on was definitely something I had to learn from that one. I learned what I want is important too. And it's okay to go after my goals and ambitions. It's okay if someone doesn't match that. That person just
That's
wasn't
right.
that's okay.
Yep. Yep. So then we get into when you went to USUE, you
Yes.
found a boyfriend pretty quickly, right? When you went there.
Yes.
And that was the longest relationship you've had to date. I'm going to let you talk about this however you'd like to talk about it. And we can get into the conversations that we've had that have helped you through that relationship. So you're on.
Yeah. Like I said, I met him at USUE. We basically dated the entire school year. And then he went on a LDS, like 2-year mission. It was something that, like, he had told me at the beginning, like, I knew about that he was gonna be leaving at the end of the year and kinda just, like, went in the back of my brain and ignored it. It was like, "Oh, it'll be totally fine." And it was extremely hard. When he left, we didn't really break up,
No.
but we weren't talking or
Right.
anything.
And you had agreed to date.
Yeah, it was it was okay if I were to go on dates with other people. But for me, it was like this was the one that I had loved him too. We had been together every single day for 9 months, basically. I was pretty set on it. I have been treated very well by every single guy. I'm very lucky in that regard. But this one definitely exceeded the expectations. At this point, he had been the one that had treated me the best. So I was like, oh, there's not better out there. There's not
He was
possible.
checking the boxes.
He was checking the boxes, and I was really happy. So his mission was really hard. It was I would say it's one of the most emotionally trying times of my life. And there was a lot that happened, but I'm not going to get into. But
there was a lot that we had to talk about through that.
yes.
Any time that you had something come up or whatever, we talked about that. And again, that was the you holding in the emotions. Right? It was something would go on, not anything bad, but you would just have emotions about it, and eventually they boiled over. And eventually we were having those conversations of, okay, how are you feeling about this? Why are you holding it in? And how can we talk about it to make it feel better? It's not going to get better until he gets home, but let's just kind of move through and get through it day by day. And that was really the mentality you had about it, was the day by day.
I was like, it's just like
one day at a
week
time.
by week and everything. And yeah, I think, with my emotions, something else would happen and it would trigger me and it would boil down to, okay, I'm upset about this. And
it was pinpointing it.
Yeah,
a lot of the times it was us trying to pinpoint exactly what was upsetting you. You would just have all these emotions all over the place, and we had to learn how to pinpoint it. We would talk about it and we would say, okay, like I would give you, like, for examples, like, Tabi, what is it this that's bothering you? No, like, let's find it. And then we would, and I think that doing that, like going through all the motions of figuring out where the actual emotional problem was, helped you to move through it. But I think it also helps you now to be able to do that with yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I've learned, like, I think I talked about it in the other episode that I was on. Okay, what else? What else? What else? And it's like, I do that to myself now. And I definitely had to do it a lot during that time. Truly, what emotion are you feeling? Because with relationships, there's a lot of times it's all these different things combining into one sometimes. And then you got the rest of life going on. That's been super helpful. I would say that now I'm insanely better at my emotions now because of that process. And that's what I do to myself of like, okay, all these couple of things triggered me, but which one is actually
what's the reality of it? Yeah.
What's the big problem here? Didn't work out. He got home. It just didn't work out and we broke up. And it was really hard for me. It was a really big shock. It wasn't something I was expecting.
And you weren't prepared for it at all?
I wasn't prepared for it.
Came out of left field.
Yeah. It was just something that, like, I had worked myself up for. So he's finally home. Like, it's great. And it was definitely different. Like, everyone had told me it was going to be different. And it was different in a different way. Like, I was prepared for it to not be the same, but then it was just different, not in the way that I expected.
Yeah.
That breakup was a hard one for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely the hardest out of all of them.
We had lots of conversations through that one.
Yes.
I think the it's not fair came up a lot, like you had mentioned before. It's not fair. Yeah. Why does this have to happen? I think maybe you mentioned it already. I'm not really sure, but you had to rely on your friends or your surroundings a lot in order to get through that emotional time in your life. It was really great. We're eternally grateful for them. And you and I had a lot of conversations because you would pretend to go about your day, which you had to, but you would come home and then it was a whole different story. And it was, what are you feeling? I know that you're not moving through this the way that is healthy. I don't think at first you moved it through it healthily.
No.
We had to have the conversations of, Tabi, it is okay to not be okay. It is genuinely okay for you to feel your feels, not be okay, but you have to feel them and you have to move through them. You have to be able to move through those feelings and allow the day by day to get a little bit better each time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was one of the big things is I didn't want to. I did not want to. My goodness, start tearing up here. I did not want to, like, feel any of those feelings.
Yes.
And that was hard because I was like, this is just going to hurt. Like, but you have to feel the feelings to get through it.
And I think we talked a lot about, I had a similar relationship. I wouldn't say not necessarily a similar relationship, but I had a similar breakup to you. I was with an ex-boyfriend. I mean, now I'm very happily married, been married for 20 some odd years. But the relationship that I had, one of the relationships I had before was a long relationship, about 6 years. And I would talk to you about the experiences that I had in that relationship and us talking about those things helped you. Why?
I think it was just nice to know that, okay, you have this happy life now. You're happily married. You,
Have
obviously,
two.
me and Noah, you just got through it. At this point, at first, I was like, there's not a better guy out there. No one's going to treat me better than that. It's not going to be possible to get through this. It's something that's always going to be there.
Yeah.
And so it was just nice to know that you've gone through a similar situation and everything turned out fine.
Yes.
I think it really helped me to trust more, because there was that time I was like, the trust in God was a little shaky there.
A little shaky.
Was a little shaky there for a while.
Yeah, we had to reiterate that he has a plan for everybody.
Exactly.
Many, many times. But another thing that I told you, and you kind of alluded to this just now, is that, you know what, Tabi? Better guy is going to come along.
Better guys.
There's a better guy out there. And in the moment, I think that, you smiled about it and you're like, yeah, right. What does she know? We've said it and we said it and we've said it and we said it. Every time something would come up, we would say, better guy's out there. He's out there. Better guy's out there. And obviously now you have better guy. I think that from all of those relationships, you have learned a lot about yourself and how to emotionally reflect.
Yes.
I think you've learned how to regulate your emotions. You're much more emotionally intelligent and mature now. And your communication is better.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I was like, especially after that, like that last relationship, there were some flaws, These things could have been better. And I see it now with the guy I'm dating now. I'm like, oh, like you're so much better with this, whatever. And communication, I think, is one of those, like my current boyfriend and I think we do really well with our communication.
You do. Absolutely. 100%.
I mean, there's times we'll come back and be like, I feel like we all the time, we're like, that wasn't said well or whatever, but the communication is there. And that's a huge thing, I think, for me. Like,
I think that exactly. I think what you just hit on is that where you come back to it is the emotional, that just a healthy conversation, healthy relationships, just talking about, I'm able to reflect on what I didn't handle correctly, or I feel like I didn't handle correctly in that moment. And that comes from relationships in general, just, having relationships with people and navigating those things and saying, hey, I'm able to come back and reflect and say, I made a mistake and I want to fix this. Yeah. And I think that you've learned that very well, whether it's from conversations that you and I have had or that you've had in past relationships or with friends or whatever it is. I think that you do that very well now.
Yeah, I think, they say, like, you look at everything that's gone through in your life and it's like you either learn something or it's like a blessing or you learn something. I don't know. Maybe it's both. But I feel like that's kind of how it's been with all these relationships. Like, I look back at it now and I'm so grateful for each of them and for the things that they've taught me and for how I grew through every one of them. Yeah, just being able to gain that emotional maturity and those communication skills and just being able to be better and be a better person. And I became a better person with each one. And
and that's good, because at least there was some growth in every one of them. That's what's important. The growth moving forward.
Of yourself when you go through stuff like that is you're growing. You want to grow through it.
Yeah. And your guy now is really great, and he's got better guy, so we're happy.
I always say, like, I went through that whole thing with trusting God and stuff, and somehow he still gave me this guy, so I'm incredibly grateful.
Shout out to him, because I don't know if we did. He watches our podcast all the time, and we're so grateful for him for that. So
I was gonna say, you didn't let me say, like, why my relationship is different now.
Oh, do you want to say that real quick?
Like, why better and different?
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like it's just a lot more straightforward.
Okay, good.
It's a lot more straightforward than the other guys. And it's just, like I said, the communication. And he's just extremely thoughtful, even though he's so busy with all these other things. Like, I'm still
Your priority.
Such a priority. I feel like it's the most, even though I was an adult in all those relationships, basically, I feel like this is the most adult relationship. I guess mature. It's the most mature.
Yeah, for sure.
If there's like big things going on, he includes me in them and like vice versa. And that's really cool. So
yeah, for sure.
Anyone who is going through a hard time or going through a breakup, just know that there are good guys still out there. Good people.
They are. So that is probably about going to wrap up what we wanted to talk about in this episode. We did forget to mention the socials. So if you guys are following us on the YouTube, that's great. Make sure you subscribe. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. And the thing about you subscribing is that it helps us to become more well known and to get our episodes out there. And that's the real basic reason for it. So if you're watching, please do just hit that subscribe button. We're on TikTok. We're on Instagram. We're on the Facebook. You can listen on either Spotify or Apple Podcast or the YouTube. So please make sure that you're doing all those things. And as always, we love for comments. If you have something you want to tell us, we appreciate when you give us those comments. Anybody that's commented, we love you guys. We usually have a closing. Noah does his little gentle anchor thing, but we told you guys already before, Tabi and I don't really have that relationship. So it's a little different. Anything you want to say before I close it out, Tab? That's going to wrap it up for us. We appreciate you guys listening. Every voice needs a safe harbor, and please stay anchored in connection.